Right, hello guys, and welcome back to another entry of the Forever Build series, the place where we cover absolutely perfect builds, factoring in set bonuses, stat distributions, optimal subclass makeup, weapon choices, and everything in between, making them the best versions of what they could possibly be, and thus being this way forever because the game isn't receiving any more major sandbox updates. You could be watching this build within the first week of upload or even 3 to 4 years down the line, and it will still be just as dominant as it was the moment it was put together. And today we're continuing with a build I always find myself falling back to that has carried myself and my team through even the hardest content like contest raids and dungeons, the ever so powerful Arc Titan. If you played this build back in episode Heresy, then you'll know exactly what I mean. So if you enjoyed today's content, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, but without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to get across about this build is that when you're playing Destiny and when you're using a build, is there ever a build that you really think is just so consistent and plays so great that you just keep coming back to it? Well, that for me is Arc Titan, and I'm going to share why this is and why it can be this way for you as well throughout the rest of Destiny 2's life. So when I talk about consistency, what do I mean? Well, the first thing I mean is reliable healing. Any good build needs reliable healing, and this one, you just simply sit behind our barricade and damage stuff, and then we get heals. We also need to think about ways to upkeep this. In the case of our build, we defeat volatile enemies to give us class ability energy back. We can heal teammates, or we can collect ionic traces, so we have a bunch of options. We can also cause lightning strikes to heal us from our bolt charge, and we can also punch enemies to activate knockout, which again is going to heal us. Again, another consistency pillar is high weapon damage output and ways to replenish your weapons of their ammo. For this build, we are using a rocket pulse, which also has tracking, which is a great way of dealing a lot of damage and is consistent because you never miss. We've also got powerful set bonuses that make it so defeating orange bars gives us a damage buff and damage resistance plus bonus ammo meter progress. And the third thing that any good build should have is consistent damage resistance. And for us, this is going to be standing behind a barricade to make us borderline unkillable to splash damage. We're going to have access to amplified from a single melee kill or just from standing behind our barricade to make us amplified, which is 15% damage resist. We also have the option of killing enemies after placing barricade to create woven mail hotspots on an arc class. And like I just mentioned, killing orange bars with our set bonuses will give us plenty of damage resistance with the ones we have chosen. So when you put everything together, this build is a consistent, unstoppable monster. So let's unravel it all piece by piece. So starting off with the subclass, the super we are taking is Thunder Crash. This is by far the best option for Arc Titan, as you have options for damage as well by using with Curus of the Falling Star to improve your damage. Also, if you are so inclined, during a damage phase, you can use the NPA Repulsion Regulator artifact to boost the damage of your Thunder Crash by up to 30% with the Thunderous Retort mod. So we've got a very powerful super to start off with. For the barricade, I'm going with Rally Barricade because that's going to synergize with our main aspect of choice. Thunderclap for the melee, this is personal preference. You could go Shoulder Charge because I think this does have a decent damage output now after it got some buffs recently, but I just prefer Thunderclap. For the grenade, we are taking the Pulse Grenade as I believe it is the most consistent and it is also my personal favorite. And then for the aspects, we are of course taking Storm's Keep. This is literally one of the best aspects ever made. I want to commend whoever at Bungie came up with the idea for this aspect. It is so good, excellent for team play, excellent for damage output on the Titan, and for healing as well. If you're somehow out of the loop, Storm's Keep transforms your barricade into an emplacement that gives you bolt charge if you stand behind it, and it allows your weapons to discharge the bolt charge as well. This works for your teammates too, but of course they won't get the damage benefits that you might from something like the Flashover artifact perk on the Tablet of Ruin artifact, but it still helps them. It still helps the team in like a raid or a dungeon improve their overall damage literally for free. And then secondly, for our second aspect, we are taking Knockout. This is by far the most consistent survivability aspect for the Arc Titan, and I almost 100% recommend taking this in every single Arc Titan build that you ever make. It is literally consistency 101 because if you are red health and you get meleeed by an ad that puts you into that state, you just have to punch it and then you have 160% bonus melee damage, which will guarantee that melee kill. It'll make you amplified and it will heal you. There have been so many situations where I have been saved by Knockout, and if I had a different aspect, it just wouldn't be the same outcome. I have tested Touch of Thunder numerous times with Pulse Grenades, Storm Grenades, and the newly buffed Lightning Grenades, which do a lot of damage, but like I said, it's just nowhere near as consistent as Knockout. And I think for the rest of the game's life cycle, if you're planning to play Arc Titan, just go with Storm's Keep and Knockout. I think Touch of Thunder is incredibly niche or specialized, whereas I think both of these two together is the option that you want to go for. For the fragments, the first one we are taking is Spark of Shock to make it so our Arc Grenades jolt targets, great for consistency, again, very common theme. Second, going for Spark of Frequency. This one is absolutely mandatory for any Arc build because it's going to double the rate at which you gain bolt charge when you are amplified. And for a bolt charge centric build like we have with Storm's Keep, it just makes total sense to have this. Third, we are taking Spark of Resistance to make it so while surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage, gives plus 10 melee stat as well, and that is a 25% resist, by the way, so it is pretty significant. Then for the fourth fragment, I have debated quite a lot with friends and discussed with other endgame players about what this should be, and we've basically all decided to land on Spark of Ions. This one is going to make it so defeating a jolted target or defeating a target with bolt charge creates an ionic trace. Now, this is on a 10-second cooldown. However, it is just better than any other option because an ionic trace gives you ability energy to all of your abilities, including your barricade, which allows you to loop the main gameplay loop of your build even more. Other options include Spark of Magnitude to make your grenade last longer if you feel like you would prefer the value out of that. You can go Spark of Amplitude as well to make more orbs of power if, say, for example, you are using set bonuses that trigger their effects off orbs of power, so you'll be able to trigger them more with this fragment. But me personally, and through lots of testing, I think Spark of Ions is the more optimal choice just because you get your barricades faster. Now, you might have spotted it from the gameplay in the video so far, but the exotic of choice we are using for this build is actually going to be the Crest of Alpha Lupi, because I have tested a lot of other exotics like Curus or Hoyle or even Skullfort, and Crest of Alpha Lupi just feels a lot more consistent. It's very like a brain off option. You don't even have to think about it, and it just works for you with your gameplay loop. This exotic states that it generates an additional orb of power from supers, which doesn't really matter. The main part is generating a barricade or dealing sustained damage or defeating targets from behind one creates a healing pulse. Healing your allies grants barricade energy. So second part, we are getting our barricades back in team content for them simply being behind it. And the first part, we get our self-sustained healing as well. It is just a great way to stay alive when chilling behind our barricade and get some extra heals. Though if you're not a big fan of Crest of Alpha Lupi, you could go with something like Hoyle because it is just, again, a very consistent option. You just get more ability uptime overall. It does mean more barricades, more grenades, etc., but you don't have the healing component that Alpha Lupi gives you. But to be honest, they are interchangeable, so that is kind of personal preference. I just think that Alpha Lupi is the most optimal in neutral. And we live in a sandbox where not swap doesn't exist anymore, so if you're playing like a raid or a dungeon and you have multiple loadouts, on your running loadout you can have Crest of Alpha Lupi, and on your damage loadout you can have Curus or any other damage exotic you would like to use. So that is it for our exotic. Moving on to the weapons, this part is where we get a bunch of synergy with our artifact as well. The first one is going to be a rocket pulse, like I stated at the beginning and like you've seen from the gameplay, but it is with a very specific role. It is mint retrograde with slice, and the reason we are taking slice is because this is how we are going to be gaining access to woven mail in our build. Because, spoilers, on the Tablet of Ruin artifact we have the 2 shreds perk. This one states that dealing sustained damage to severed targets unravels them. Defeating a severed target creates a hotspot of strand energy, granting woven mail to nearby allies for a short duration. And because the main gameplay loop of this build is placing our barricade, which is going to activate slice, killing a severed enemy from the slice is going to make these woven mail hotspots. They pulse 3 times, giving woven mail for 10 seconds each time. And by the way, this does work for teammates as well, so you're not only buffing yourself, but you're buffing all of your team. And you can really spread this around, by the way, by making a ton of hotspots by defeating just a bunch of different enemies. As you can see there, I've made 1, 2, 3, 4 different hotspots, littering the battlefield with little support drones of woven mail. It's very cool, feeds into the support fantasy, which you somewhat are as an Arc Titan. Plus, as a reminder, woven mail is a 45% damage resistance, so it is one of the better ones to have on top of all of the other resists that you have, such as amplified set bonuses and stuff, but we'll get to that. For our second weapon, we are going with Choir of One, and despite this setup being overall double special, this is the best weapon you could possibly run in a double special setup because it basically behaves like a primary weapon with the amount of ammo it can carry and the amount you get back from bricks that you create. In the Monument of Triumph update, the amount of ammo you get back per brick for Choir of One was reduced by a significant amount. I believe it went from 90 to around 70, so it's a pretty decent chunk, around a quarter, but that doesn't actually matter because we have set bonuses now like the King's Fall armor set, which we will talk about in just a moment. Plus, on this setup, we are running incredibly high weapon stat. We are running the max of 200. So that is going to guarantee that every brick we create is going to be double sized, therefore topping up our choir to the maximum. Before we talk about stats, be sure to craft your choir with destabilizing rounds as the catalyst, because again, this is going to feed into one of our main artifact perks for even more barricade energy. So onto the stats and set bonuses. Like I mentioned, the first one we are going to be taking is the King's Fall 2-piece. Now this one states final blows on guardians and powerful combatants generate additional ammo progress. And this was nerfed actually in a recent patch, but it does still give a good chunk. So if I kill this orange bar here, as you can see, it is going to give a pretty big amount. And actually it does take around 6 kills or so to fully fill the meter. I'll just get another 5 there. And we're basically up up to our next brick after just getting 5 kills. And most high-level activities in the game now, including distortions actually, have a ton of yellow and orange bar enemies, so having this set bonus, even in its nerf state, I still think is very good. And especially in a double special setup, this is going to help keeping up your ammo economy compared to if you were not running it. So that is set bonus number 1, ammo brick spawning consistency. The second set bonus we are taking is stable resonance, the one from the Salvation's Edge raid. Now this one is the 2-piece. It states that defeating a powerful combatant generates stable resonance, which grants damage resistance and increased weapon damage for the duration. And the way this works is when killing an orange bar enemy or above, we're going to see the stable resonance timer on the left of your screen, which lasts for 12 seconds, and the same with resist times 2, which is a 25% damage resistance, by the way. And the nice part about this set bonus is that it has the same trigger as the King's Fall set, simply defeats an orange bar enemy or above. So that is the reason why they work so well together in the first place. And by the way, the damage bonus from the Salvation's Edge set is 7%. It's not a lot, but it's still better than nothing. Quickly circling back to the overall stat distribution, having 200 weapons is very, very good for this build because number 1, it is double special. And like I mentioned earlier, having the 200 will make it so every brick you spawn is guaranteed to be double sized, so we don't have to worry about fonts or anything like that. I've also gone for 100 super to minimize the cooldown and maximize the amount of chunk gains we get from any sources, such as like a dynamo helmet mod, for example, or an ionic trace. And then the rest is purely into cooldown stats like grenade, melee, and class. I've gone for 70 class, 70 grenade, and 60 melee. And if I do say so myself, my stat distribution is very, very clean. And actually, this is the maximum or like the best stats I could possibly have for this build, in my opinion. And that is because I've gotten very lucky with some of the pieces that I managed to get from these raids. And in terms of what those pieces are, my helmet is powerhouse with a tertiary stat in class with a tuning in class. My gauntlets are specialist with a tertiary stat in grenade and a tuning in weapons. My crest of Alpha Lupi is gunner with a tertiary stat in super and a tuning in weapons, which you can choose, by the way. My boots are powerhouse with a tertiary stat in grenade and a tuning in grenade. And then finally, my class item is powerhouse with a tertiary stat in melee and weapons tuning. Like I said, you literally cannot get any better than this distribution, plus it looks really clean as well. Diving a little deeper into the artifact now, we already know why we are taking 2 shreds. This is for the woven mail hotspots, but as for the rest of the mods, the second tier 3 perk we are taking is defibrillating blast. This one is going to make it so stunning a champion grants maximum stacks of bolt charge, and damaging targets with bolt charge bolts jolts them and heals you. So this is yet another source of healing for us and a little bit of AoE ad clear from the jolt. For the tier 2 mods, we have flashover. This is going to increase the damage of all of our bolt charge lightning bolts by 50%, which is rather significant. Plus, when you reach maximum bolt charge, you are going to become amplified. This is what I said at the beginning of the video, where if you wanted to get just some free damage resistance and elemental verbs, all you need to do is stand behind your barricade, and there we go. We have max bolt charge and we are amplified through flashover. Next up for our second tier 2, we have gold from lead. This one is going to make it so picking up special ammo has the chance to grant heavy ammo. This is just a quality of life perk. Next, we have maligned harvest to make it so rapidly applying volatile causes your next instance of void weapon damage to create a weakening burst. So we have a little bit of access to some void verbs here and there with kills with our choir. It also has a secondary part that says applying weaken provides a small void overshield, and it is very small. I don't even know if you'll be able to see it in any of the gameplay, but it's just there in case it allows us to absorb an extra hit, for example, in like a life or death situation. Why not? Then for the tier 1 mods, the first one we have is volatile marksman. This one states that rapid void weapon precision hits and rapid void weapon final blows grant volatile rounds. That part is fine, but it's less important than the second. Volatile detonations grant class ability energy. So again, this is going to be feeding back into our main gameplay loop, which is our barricade. And as you can see here, if I place my barricade and get volatile rounds by getting a kill here with D-stave, every kill that I get after that is going to give us a small chunk of class ability energy. It might be on a small internal cooldown, but as you can see, all it takes is getting a few kills, finish up there, and we already have our barricade back. And we're getting our next one too by collecting that ionic trace, which we made. So it's very good for barricade upkeep, plus it's just gives volatile rounds when, if you wanted to run something other than D-stave on your choir, could run onslaught if you'd like, but I prefer the consistency from D-stave, me personally. Finally, the last mod we are taking is dielectric to make it so defeating arc debuff targets grants bolt charge. Again, more bolt charge. Second part, rapidly defeating arc debuff targets spawns an orb of power and heals a small portion of health. Even more heals from the jolt that we are causing from our bolt charge lightning and from our grenades too. Finishing up with the mods for the build. For the helmet, I am taking 1 special ammo finder and 1 special ammo scout for my team, and a void siphon so that kills with my choir generate orbs of power. For the gloves, I have 1 heavy-handed, 1 bolstering detonation, and 1 void loader. It feels really good to have my choir reload very quickly with the void loader. I would recommend it. Chest piece, we have resist mods. Then for the boots, I have stacks on stacks, strand scavenger for my rocket pulse, and a innovation addition for a little bit of grenade energy on the orb pickup. Then finally for the class item, I have 1 special finisher and 2 copies of Powerful Attraction. I recommend trying out 2 copies of Powerful Attraction because it actually does increase the radius at which you collect orbs when placing your barricade, and it is noticeable if you play with it enough. It's something I would recommend everybody to try. It does feel quite good to pick up orbs from further away. Now, as far as the optimal gameplay loop is concerned for this build, you literally just have to place your barricade and win, and then rinse repeat. That's all it is. Stand behind your barricade, trigger lightning strikes by dealing damage with Choir, take care of high value targets with Mint, defeat them with Slice to generate Woven Mail hotspots. You've got Amplified going, you've got healing going from your barricade. If you've got teammates, you're helping them out too because you're healing them through your barricade as well. You've got really high damage supers through Thunder Crash that you can swap to Curus for damage. Like I said at the beginning and have been repeating throughout the entire video, this is one of the most consistent builds you can play with in this game. If you're a Titan main, make sure you make this build because it's going to carry you through anything in this game. Like I said, I used it for multiple day 1 raids, RIP to those by the way, and overall it's just a really great build. As far as the fashion is concerned, I've gone for maximum LARP here with the full Brave Titan set back from the Red War campaign. Feel free to copy this if you like. It's very basic, no shaders, nothing, but I think it's quite fitting. But anyway, the dim link for this build is going to be down in the description box below for you to copy hassle-free like always. And if you enjoy the build, guys, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now, dear viewer.